Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Prop Talk. I am your host, Mikey Trudel. And this is I don't usually do these openings. It's usually Chris, so I'm a little bit rusty. Excuse me. It's official podcast of the Property Masters Guild. Chris called out about 2 hours ago, but luckily we have a wonderful stand-in for him. When he called out, we had another board member of the Property Masters Guild standing right next to me. So I turned to him, and he decided to be the pinch hitter for this episode. So we got Hunter Nelson in the house today. How's it going, Hunter?
Hey, good. Hello, prop fans. Thanks for having me, Mikey.
Yes, thank you for stopping in. We'll be jumping around and talking about prop stuff today. And we have a topical episode today. So a lot of people have wrote in probably over the past year. And I kept kicking this to the curb. But they want to know basically what the job is of a prop master, like from front to back, from getting the call to the job to actually propping up the show, to crewing up, to budgeting, to getting towards the end of the show, and I guess even wrapping. So I think in this episode, we said we were going to do that. And to do that, we brought in a very experienced television prop master, Sarah Snyder.
What's up?
How's it going, Sarah?
It's good.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah? You working on anything right now?
I'm about to start a TV series over at Universal.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's going to be an hour dramedy.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's a TV show based off the movie The Burbs from
Oh.
1989.
Right. With, what is it? Tom Hanks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Tom Hanks making an appearance in this? Are we allowed to say?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
That would be dope.
Yeah. You've done a lot of work at Universal, right?
I have done a lot there.
Yeah. I just did a pilot over there not too long ago, and it's like the first studio type thing I've done since before the strike, so almost in 2 years. And it was nice to be working there again, but after 2 weeks, it made me like miss studio shows and having that home and having a trailer parked next to the stage and having a golf cart and your office connected to the stage. I want that again.
So luxurious. Very nice.
So luxurious. Yeah. It's one of my favorite studios to work at.
Yeah. It's easy. Where do you live?
I live in La Crescenta.
Oh, okay.
Pretty easy drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
All right. So how long have you been prop mastering?
I've been prop mastering for about 8 years now.
Okay. And then where are you from? Where'd you start?
I'm from California.
Yeah.
I started at ISS, the prop house, and then worked my way up, and then finally decided to leave and started assisting. And then eventually I was told by a couple mentors of mine to start prop mastering, and I denied them for a couple of years and then decided to start doing it.
Yeah.
What department or departments at ISS did you work in?
I worked in sales.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you always want to do something in props or the film industry? Like, how did you land here, basically?
Quite the opposite, actually. I was going to be a computer engineer. I was working at a restaurant down the street from ISS, and I got hired by Greg Bilson Jr.
Really?
Yep.
Like, he came into the restaurant and was
hey,
you should work for me.
He was having lunch with Hope Parrish, and Hope persuaded him to get me to come over there to work with him. And I was a single mom at the time, making no money as a waitress, going to college, and I said, I need to start upping my game.
Where were you going to college for?
For computers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was just a struggle, and I finally decided I probably needed a full-time job instead of being a waitress with random hours with a 1-year-old, and off I went.
Yeah. So then how long were you at ISS for? And did you start right in sales or?
No, I started in stock and then moved my way up. I think I was there for 4 years.
Okay. So not a crazy long time.
No, not a crazy long time. I learned a lot. I was a salesperson with Lee Dennis, and he worked a lot with Hope Parrish and all the big timers, Tommy Day, Tommy Tomlinson, all those guys.
It's so wild. It's like you hear people want to move to Hollywood. I'm going to work as a waitress. I'm going to get discovered. It's going to be my big break, and that actually happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where did you live in California? Was it in
La Crescenta?
It was in La Crescenta. That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool then. So when you jumped out, was it just... There we go. I usually also have a switcher here, and that's not happening too. So look behind the curtain. When you jumped into production, was it mostly people that were your clients that were getting you your first steps in the door?
Yeah, I left ISS and started working for one of my clients, and I did a couple movies with him. And then after that, him and I decided that we probably didn't work good together. And then I worked for another guy and started getting TV.
Yeah. So how much experience, like what's the movie versus TV crossover that you have?
I mean, I don't really see them as two different things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty easy switch, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like movies are easier because you're dealing with less episodic stuff. It's just like one script and you're there.
Yeah, you don't got to be in the meetings and stuff like that all the time.
Yep. You're
Yeah.
not constantly prepping, shooting, wrapping. Like, it's just, you get all your meetings done, you get all your stuff, and then you go shoot it.
Yeah.
More of a linear process. Yeah, a start and finish defined. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you go from, because you were assisting for not very long, you said?
No, I was assisting for a long time.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I assisted for 10 years and then finally made the jump to prop mastering.
Yeah. 10 years. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you were. So you said people kept pushing you to prop master?
Yeah, I had a couple of people tell me that I needed to start prop mastering, that I was really good at what I would do and how would I talk to people. And I told them they're crazy. I didn't want to deal with adults and the behind the curtains type stuff, the meetings. And then I got pregnant with my daughter, and my son was like, so I don't want you to be on set anymore, because that's what you did when I was little, and I don't want that for my sister. And I was like, so...
How old was he?
He was just about to start high school. So he was like, you should start... Because
Wow.
he grew up in the industry, so he
Yeah.
knows how we all work.
Yeah.
And at this point, my husband's doing props too. So he was like, you need to start either shopping for somebody or you need to become a prop master. And he was like the final nail in the coffin besides other people. Because I was just like, oh, I guess I missed a lot.
Yeah. So do you find that being a prop master makes it so you can be home a little bit more? Or?
Depending on the project. I mean, if it's a tough project, obviously you're immersed into it and it takes a lot of your time. But then I have a job that I call my easy job, where I can leave whenever I want because the showrunner, I get along very well. The scripts are easy. My team's great. And I can leave whenever I want. If I have to pick up my daughter from school, I go get her. I go do stuff. I may come back. I definitely find being a prop master way easier than having to be stuck on set all day.
Yeah. I think somebody was asking me, they're like, oh, would you rather be on set or on the truck if you weren't prop mastering and doing stuff? I was like, oh, on the truck for sure. Or even shopping, because I don't know. I found that after prop mastering so much, when you go back to like running a set, like it's hard. It's very hard. It's like that like being that attentive to detail and stuff like that. But I think the part that bothers me more than that, like I like that stuff. The part that bothers me is I don't care how hard the job is. There's going to be talking heads at some point. There's going to be a time where you're spending hours on a scene of people where there's not a lot of resets. Right. There's not a lot of stuff. And that's the part where it's like, I need to be fiddling with something. I need to be doing something. And it's where I'm starting to organize the card. It's like, oh, but you still got to be paying attention to the screen. You still got to be paying attention to what's going on. And that's the part that's kind of taking me out of it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I love running a set and I love being in it with the people, but there's like this, after having my daughter, there's this, like, I don't want to be chained to being somewhere for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to be looser and go do stuff. I mean, not necessarily leave work to go be a mom, but I want to have that little cushion where I'm just like, okay, well, you guys have 2 hours left, but the scene's set and I can go do other things. I can go to my
daughter
office.
Has a recital.
Yeah, I could go to recital. I can go to baseball games or whatever.
Yeah.
But also I could go catch up on the next episode of stuff. Like, I'm not stuck in it.
Yeah.
And that's really what I like about being a prop master versus being on set, is you just have that ability to go work on other things and get everything going.
So what was the first job you prop mastered then?
I did the final season of the Mindy Project.
That was your first prop master job?
Yes.
Did you work on the first seasons of the Mini Project as an assist?
My really good friend who was the prop master had me on a couple times, and we'd worked together a couple times, and I told him I wanted to start being a prop master if he knew of anything that was coming up or anything that he was turning down. And he said, well, I forget exactly how the conversation went, but he was like, you know what, I'm done with TV for now. I'm going to go start working on movies, so I'm going to convince them to hire you.
What?
No. How is it taking over like somebody's project that deep into that many seasons?
I was terrified.
Yeah.
And I was 4 months pregnant.
Oh, okay. That helps.
And I knew all these people because I day played and worked with him throughout the seasons. But I was terrified.
And was there concern on their end? Did like they ask for a resume, or they're just like, I'm just going to trust this person, and then we'll see. Let's see how it goes.
I'm sure there was concern. I did have the luckiness of inheriting his crew.
Right.
So they had already been there, and it was just a plug and play with me, basically. And they'd tell me what and how they did things, and I would just order them and sit in meetings and find out what they want, get the things, and it was actually pretty seamless.
Yeah, and how long did that shoot for? How long was the length of that season?
Oh, it wasn't very long because they shot. At that point, they got to 4.5 days of shooting episodes.
What?
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. Yeah. So did you have, like, would you shoot 4 days and then start another episode that same week, or? Yeah,
you shoot 4 days, start an episode in the morning or at the night, depending on, but then the rest of the half of the day would be the next episode.
You don't get a half day off to prep or
Nope.
nap?
Nope.
Yeah. Oh,
No.
brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the rush?
Is that just how Mindy does?
Well, oddly enough, she was pregnant at the same time, so she was trying to finish it up. So
That's the rush.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is probably perfect for you too.
It was
then.
great. Yeah.
So then you got off that and took some time off and had the baby and.
Yeah, I took some time off. They actually wanted me to do the next show that they were doing, but they were concerned about how fast it happened or how it was happening, and if I didn't have enough time, and then so I didn't end up doing that next job. But I think I took like 4 months off, and then worked for another prop master as an assistant, as a shopper, to like kind of get back into it and see how I felt about it. And then he knew going into it that if I were to get a prop mastering job that I'd probably leave him. And luckily that's what ended up happening, is I got another job on another half-hour comedy and ended up leaving him as his shopper and went off and did another show.
Okay, so when you were finished Mindy Project, then was it like you were sold? Like it was done deal. You knew like, okay, I'm prop mastering from now on.
Yeah, I feel like, especially being the on-set for 10 years, like, you know what the people on set need to a certain degree. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that don't understand that because they haven't been an on-set.
Right.
And there's a lot of gap there. So I feel like, well, I mean, this is why I didn't bring an assistant. They might have a different opinion, but I'm kidding. But I feel like I love putting the puzzle together, and I love getting the things and making sure everything's there to be cohesive, whether it's used or not. And I don't know. I was in an interview a couple months ago, and they were like, why do you like doing props? And I'm like, I don't know. I just love collecting the things and making the things work. Whether they work or not, or even go on camera, is a different story, but
just a lot of time they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, but the gathering of the stuff and doing the breakdown of the script and doing the budget, like, I love that stuff.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like I had a conversation with some other prop master the other day that they're talking about. It's like, oh, there was one script I was like, just when I read it first, I was really scared of. I was like, oh, there was one script I was like, every single script that I'm gonna prop master, my first read through, I'm terrified. I was like, even like the lower no budget things, I was like, I read through them because the pieces are everywhere.
Yeah,
the pieces are just it's like somebody just wiped off a whole table, and it's just like there's so much to kind of stack and piece together and find out. I don't know how we're gonna do this. I don't know the answers to and I think that's part of like once you start placing it and getting it together is part of the thrill for me, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's that nervousness because I second guess myself first time read. And I don't know if second guessing is the right word because I know I'm going to figure it out, but like it's scary. It's that fear to know we can make it through.
Yeah, and just talking about being afraid like that, and you're more established as a prop master now, and you've done several things, like many things, like when just because the audience asking for this podcast in general, like this how to and how we process this, like at what point did you realize like I'm either ready for this or I believe that people believe that I'm ready for this? Like at what point and what skills were identified that made you believe it was time?
I was doing a movie with a very good friend of mine and a now retired prop master, and they killed it. He did an amazing job as a prop master. She was so organized on the trailer, so prepped for me. I literally would show up to set and not have to worry about having the wrong thing, missing something. It would all be there, not labeled, but I mean, it doesn't have to be labeled, but it's in the spots that they needed to be spots or placed. And I was like, this is how it should be done. And I was like, these guys can do it. And I'm not saying they suck or like I'm better than them, but I'm like, these guys can do it. And they trust me to do it. And towards the end of the movie, my friend, she told me, she goes, you're going to be a prop master. I'm retiring and you're going to be a prop master. Okay. And I was like, I'm not going to be a prop master. And she's like, yes, you are. And you're taking my entire kit.
Whoa.
And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I have a kit. And this is not the kit we've been working with.
Yeah.
With the prop master.
It was completely different.
It was completely different.
So you didn't know it.
I had no idea. I didn't even know she had a kit. And I was like, you're crazy. And she's like, no, I'm not. You're taking this. I'm getting out of my storage in 3 months and you're taking this stuff. And I'm like, what am I going to do with it? She goes, you are going to be a prop master and you're going to take my stuff and it's going to help you do that. And I was like, maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
And then I was also working with another prop master at the same time. And he's like, you're really good with like the organization of this. And I'm like, okay. He's like, you should be a prop master. And I'm like, why do these people keep on telling me this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to deal with the adults. And
until you did.
Until I did. And at the end of that movie, I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. And it took me, I got her kit probably 3 months later. I shoved it all in my garage. I organized it, and it was probably 2 years later that I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on set anymore. I don't want to be somebody's shopper. I'm going to prop master.
Yeah. Yeah. When did the trailer come into the picture?
The trailer came into after probably the fourth job that my tiny little peanut assistant Krista and I pushed these rolling
into 5 tons and
boxes in and out of 5 tons. But the killer was at the end of each show, we had to go up my 100-foot driveway.
Yeah.
And I decided that it was time to buy one.
That gives you back some prep and wrap days for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was like the big thing. Like when I'm negotiating stuff, they're like, especially these tier jobs that have been coming up with the thing. They're like, oh, we're set to do a 5-ton with you. It's like, I was like, no matter what you can do, get the trailer on because you're taking my limited prep days and now you're adding 2 to 3 prep days just to load it all onto a freaking truck.
Yeah. I just did reshoots for a show and they're like, okay, so we'll get a 10-ton to wherever you need. And I was like, okay, so I need 3 more prep days.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, why? And I'm like, well, when do you expect me to prep the show and put all this stuff in a truck?
Yeah.
I go, isn't it cheaper to just take my truck?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we'll look at the numbers. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, look at whatever you want.
Look at all you want. I just told you, and you know that I was right and you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. I had prop mastered a lot of like no budget stuff, and then I assisted big things for a while. So I had a big thing, and then I just out of the blue, like kind of no in between got offered like a network show from a production designer that I had worked with too, and I had like my reaction against was like for the new prop masters, since we're going to be talking about a lot of like how to build a thing, it was the terrified thing. And I had no confidence in myself at this. Like I told the production designer that because she's like, "Oh, you're gonna do this network Ryan Murphy thing," and I was like, "I can't do that." She's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I've never done something like this." Like they just like they said that's like $35,000 an episode prop budget. Like I don't know what an amort is. I don't know what any of this stuff even means or whatever. And then she's like, "Listen," she's like, "I don't want to do it with anybody else, so you should do it." And I think another prop master I called and talked to, and I was like, I don't know about this. And he's like, "Listen, like call Rick at ISS right now and say, I need a trailer tomorrow and then do the show and don't look back." He's like, "If you get fired from a Ryan Murphy project, no one's going to look down on you for getting fired from a Ryan Murphy project." And I was like, deal. And I think it was the same way after when the show ended. I was like, I'm never going back. And these are the only shows that I want to do. Like after I succeeded and I had the money to actually do stuff, it was like, oh my God, like this is actually way easier in a lot of ways than the tier movie stuff. I feel like you are. I do still like doing tier stuff every once in a while because it makes you be more resourceful and you kind of are a little bit more crafty. But man, having the money and the ability to be able to do stuff and to work with more houses to be able to create the things that you need to and have concept designers and stuff like that is really amazing.
It is like without all the house's support or the assistant support, like. I did a tier 1 movie this past year, and I was by myself, and I was terrified to not have an assistant.
No assistant.
Wait, you did it with zero help?
Zero.
It was by yourself?
I had 6 man days.
What? And this was your first job back from the strike, or?
No, I did my TV show early in the year, and then over the summer I did this movie, and I had never done a tier movie, and when they told me I was by myself, I was like, wait, but who's gonna take the trash out in the trailer?
And you still want, like, that didn't deter you, though? You didn't...
I mean, there was no other jobs happening, so
right.
I mean, you have to take them as you take them, but it was terrifying to do all of the things.
Did they take your trailer?
Oh yeah, that was the weirdest. Okay. That was the weirdest part. They were like, "Oh yeah, and you have this much for your trailer, and this is the budget, but you don't have people." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that was the. I mean, I guess nothing sticks when there was like no work for an entire year. So it's like I take everything that I would say and kind of throw it out. But it was like before that, if like right now, I think if you asked me, would you do a show by yourself? I was like, not anymore. Mm-hmm. Never.
Possible.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a one person art team.
Oh,
and
man.
was it incredibly difficult too?
It was and wasn't. There was days that I was just like, how am I doing this by myself? I'm one person with 5 actors. Like, but it's something. I feel like something changes in your head after being on set for so long that you're like, wait, no, I can do this. And this is where the step's going to happen. And this is what they're going to do. And I have to prepare for this. And the entire shoot, that's all I was doing in my head was like, okay, now I have time. I can run out to the trailer to prep for tomorrow. And now I have time where I can send a driver to go get this. And
yeah,
it was bananas.
Yeah, it's just stacking.
And then Village is moving. It's time to move chairs.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, thankfully it was a movie and not a TV show, because then that's all I had to do was once it started shooting was worried about shooting.
Right, you prep the whole thing in the front.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So you've done mostly TV.
Yeah.
So TV is your main bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you feel most comfortable, you'd say?
No, I mean, I feel like that's what I like the most, because my brain has to be constantly doing stuff, and not to down movies at all, but you prep it and then you shoot it and then you wrap it. Like episodic, you're just going and going and going. There's no stop. It's like you have one day, now here's your next director. You have another day, here's your next director. Get the stuff back because you're not using it. Go get more stuff because you need new stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll rattle through a couple of your credits real quick. Your big thing right now, or what you've been doing a lot recently is the Sex Lives of College Girls. My wife watches that show religiously. So, like, it's a funny show.
It's a funny show,
Yeah,
and this last season is actually pretty funny.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a really good show. Is that gonna keep it going? Is that gonna have another season? Do we know
It
yet, or?
hasn't been officially greenlit yet, but rumors at a certain studio that it's shot at is it's coming back in June.
Yeah, and is that like a family environment over there? Have you guys like? Is it a good crew and working team and everything?
It's not a family environment necessarily. There's not a lot of people with kids. And we keep on rotating through crew.
Oh, really?
I'm actually the only department that's been there since
Really?
the pilot.
No way. You must be really good then.
Yeah, holding the line.
The showrunner and I get along pretty well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to. The reason we're doing this is we're gonna. I brought you on to see how we prop master something, and specifically in this one, we're going to be talking about mostly TV. We can we can add differences, I think, to features in some cases and stuff like that. But I think just because most of your credits are TV and everything, we'll try to stick mostly to how to prop master a TV show. So,
Where does it start?
it's where does it start? Well, I guess for Sarah's purposes, who on most of your TV shows, who usually hires you? Where does that phone call usually come from?
Most of my career has been the line producer.
The line producer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just been making good relationship with the line producers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I haven't worked for necessarily the same line producers for a long time. There's been a couple in rotation. It's usually a line producer asking around from whoever they had last as props, or somehow my name just gets across their desk, and then I get a call from them. I think I've been hired by the actual production designer maybe twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I got most of my jobs from production designers.
Yeah,
so.
it's like 50-50 for me. Yeah.
Yeah, but with line producers, so you've had a lot of prop masters that have just recommended you to line producers, and that's kind of came around.
Yeah, it's usually prop masters or other producers that have heard my name or talked to me or seen me or worked with me on other projects that pass me along.
Okay, cool. So let's start there then. Let's say a line producer is calling you, maybe that you haven't worked with before. We can just start fresh with that, and says that they have a TV show. And asks if you're interested. Let's run for 4 months. What do you? What's your response right away?
All right, so this has happened numerous times. Random phone call on your phone. Don't have the number. You see a name. You're like, okay, this is work.
Yeah.
You pick it up. Mm-hmm. They say who they are. They say, hey, we're checking your availability. We got your name from so-and-so. Wanted to see if you either want to come in and meet the production designer or if you want to have a phone call, but we would like to book you on this job. Go from there. You get a phone call from the production designer. Sometimes they want to do Zoom. You're like, that's weird. Sometimes they want to do coffee. Sometimes you just get a phone call where you can't even read them.
Right.
And you're like, okay, great. You take the job. Then you deal with whoever's doing the money, whether it's the UPM or the line producer.
Do you usually read a script before you take the job, or do you?
I love this question because I have never gotten a script before I got a job.
Yeah?
Interesting.
Never.
Yeah. So no.
No.
So it's usually just like a quick synopsis, if that.
If it's we're doing a show, it's about this. We'll give you more information. It's this genre. It's based in this. We're at this studio.
Yeah.
That's about all I get.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, like if you had the option, would you have rather read some of these scripts before that first conversation?
I mean, I don't think I really care.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'll prop anything. Like, I have some easy shows. I got some stupid shows. Like, I don't think it's about... I mean, sometimes if you want to get artsy, it's about the script. I mean, I'm honestly not that person. I'm about just doing a job and doing the job correctly and not getting fired and meeting nice people and having fun.
So you could care less if it's just a nice, easy softball job or like a crazy challenge with a ton of builds and sci-fi stuff. Just is there just some sort of thrill about taking whatever and seeing what happens?
I think there is. Like, I don't. It doesn't matter to me what kind of job it is.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And I don't know why that is, but it could be a boring job with 2 people in a cell for 6 months, or a job on the beach for 6 months. Like, I'm just like, cool, let's do it. Like, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so you take the job, and you usually, or you say you're available for this before talking about numbers or making a deal or doing anything. Is that the next step typically in these situations?
Yeah, after I talk to mostly the production designer or the director, that's when I go back with the numbers and talk to them about.
Still not reading a script.
Still not reading a script. I have taken jobs where I heard it was about a book, and then I take the job and then read the book, but still not reading a script.
Do you ever read the script?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. I just
The scripts, we're not there yet.
yeah.
We still don't have the numbers on the trailer yet.
Yeah.
So then after talking to either production designer or the director or showrunner, then I go back to the money person and feel out what my prep is, what my people's prep is, how many people I get, my trailer, the trailer rental, the kit, the car rental.
And how do you determine, I mean, as a regular comedy, let's say at Universal or something like that, like your standard, I mean, there a lot of similar. So as you can base that off, like, how do you determine that numbers? Is there a deal that you typically have that's already written out that you go into in mind with the amount of people, or how do you figure out the amount of people you need on the crew, and is the price for the trailer the same every time? There's a couple questions in there at once. I'll let you.
So I usually always start with the people, because that's most important to me, because my core 4 people.
Plus 4?
Me plus 4 is how I roll.
Yeah.
They're my rock. Like, they've held me down for a long time. And I always go into it telling them that this is how I usually work. I have 2 on-sets, a truck person and a shopper, and then
The same way.
It can expand from there, obviously, but that's the headliner right away, half-hour comedy.
Does your shopper do a lot of coordination work and like the cachets and all that stuff too? Or
she would love to, because that's what she does, and she's amazing at it.
Yeah.
I'm so narcissistic with my numbers that I have to see it in front of me and do it myself. But she does a lot of the coordinating she coordinates me.
Okay, fair.
Nice.
She'll make sure, like, if we're 3 days out from something, that I'm 3 days on, like, I'm on it. And if we're getting close to something that she hasn't seen, she's like, hey, what's up with this? Like,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
If we're starting, I share my spreadsheets with her. If she sees that we're starting to get into zones, she'll start by like, okay, so do you want me to put this here? And, or yeah, I'll do this one and put this here, so you can put this here. So she does coordinate. I don't give her as much as she would like, 'cause she loves doing that stuff.
Yeah. I love that. So the crew is first and foremost.
Crew is first and foremost, then it gets to the trailer. And when I got the trailer, I started a standard for myself of the base that it would be at. And it's grown, obviously, since I've been prop mastering. So every show, I usually bump it up more.
Right. And have you been mostly successful with that? At least on the same studios?
I have, because I'm not going crazy with it. I also know how much they're spending on, like, transportation, little trucks. And so I base it off of that.
And have you had success with that with new UPMs and line producers you have not worked with before? Okay.
I have, because I always start the conversation with, I'm going to bring a certain amount of myself to this party, and I need you to support me. And if you're going to support me, you're going to come to agreements with me. We're going to come to the price that I feel comfortable, that you feel comfortable, because I want to do the job for you and you want me to do the job for you. So I'm working for you.
Yeah.
But you also have to, like, give me a little bit, because I don't want to be ran over.
Yeah.
And then if they don't give me a price that I like, I usually start adding things onto it.
Yeah. And here this might be a weird question or whatever, but I noticed that you've worked for studios that I have run into that have quote unquote studio policies on kit. So has that ever been a factor for you, or have you always been able to get past that?
No, that's always been a factor.
Yeah.
Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Warner Brothers?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, Warner Brothers especially is their standard is like there's no negotiating, and that's where I negotiate more for the trailer rental.
So you get it elsewhere
Yeah.
than if they try to push back
Yeah.
and that. Okay, that makes sense then.
And then like I worked for a line producer that was super cheap, and she didn't want to pay me what I wanted, and I finally went, you know what? Then fine, take the set dresser and the painter off my truck.
Yeah.
And she said, what? She goes, but they're going on the slop truck. I go, no, yeah, that's fine. I don't want them there now.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why? I go, because I need space.
Yeah.
I go, you can go rent another truck. And she's like, wait, what? I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not giving me what I need, so I'm going to take all the space.
Yeah.
I go, or you can give me $200 more, and they can go on my truck.
Right. Which is a lot cheaper than another $600 a
Exactly.
week. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Give them that context. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back really quick, we'll keep going on the truck though, but back to crew before I forget. Have you ever, have you been mostly successful in getting your core four on any of all these projects pretty much?
Right before COVID, yes.
Yeah. Now it's getting harder? Or?
It hasn't gotten harder yet, but I'm a little worried about this next job. But I've worked with the line producer before. She knows how many people I roll with. I don't see it as a problem, but also I feel like the 4 is the standard now.
The 4 should be the standard.
We
Like
love
that.
it, yeah.
That feels the comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it should go up from. I mean, there are certain shows you need more than 4, obviously, but I
Right.
think that's the comfort zone where
And
you.
comfort is more. I think that's minimum. You know.
Yeah.
I
Like
think that's
yeah.
minimum. I mean, I think that's minimum, but it's like it also. That's the perfect 4 where all 4 of those people have a specific job
exactly.
that and you need them full. Like you can't have one that's in and out. I mean, that's how I got on the show that I'm on. One of my people on because they're like, oh, we have out of the whole 30-day shoot, we have 20 days for you for a truck person or whatever. And I was like, no, like that person needs to be 30. I don't want to. It's not a truck person that comes in for 20 days of a 30-day shoot because they don't
Right.
feel like
Right.
they're not committed to that job.
Exactly.
They don't feel like it. It's like they need to feel like they have a purpose on the job and they're part of the family and they're invested into it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what big thing is. All 4 of those people have specific jobs that they have to do and they have a vested interest in that. You know?
The 4 core is like those are the people that are doing the main jobs, and then the people that come in behind it are the people that are like, you're okay, you have Monday off, but I'll need you the rest of the 4, like the rest of the week. Like that person doesn't need any continuity at all. The 4 people need continuity.
Right.
And that used to be the fight was you can have a certain amount of people, but then the second onset is 4 days a week. Just pick the days. And it's like, no, because what if the other onset gets sick and then there's something misplaced and all the continuity's out the door.
Yeah, and then also, there's that, but then also it's like they're not committed to you. They're gonna jump ship if another full-time job comes on, and then you have to almost train somebody to the show. And you don't blame that person either.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
If I can get 5 days with anyone else, I'm going to be with them every week instead.
Oh,
yeah.
100%. I mean, that's the thing. So most shows you can get the 4.
Yeah, the 4 for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we can go back to the trailer then. So the trailer is definitely. You think that's the biggest fight in the
The
negotiation?
trailer is definitely the biggest fight, especially the legal paperwork on the trailer is nobody wants to be responsible or take responsibility for anything if somebody gets hurt. And dealing with the lawyer portion of it and the money portion of it is like, I think every time, I know every time I go into a job, I just get anxiety because I'm just like, this is going to be the most painful prep just to get the paperwork done on this thing.
Right. And the trailer is the biggest part of that. Do
Yeah.
you work on your trailer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think I don't know if that's a newer prop master thing because I work off my trailer, especially on TV shows, and most other prop masters that are newer like us in this room do that as well. You worked mostly off the trailer in the last show too. And every big prop master that I came up under did not.
No.
Is that the same case
Yeah,
with
it was
you?
a storage unit.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. We had a gold room on the truck for my mentor's truck coming up that I worked off for 6 years, and we just piled boxes back there. We jam them in and close it in, and nobody used it.
I will say the big draw for me was the satellite internet. Yeah, having that available.
The
on
satellite
the ranches,
internet. The satellite internet on this last one was crazy. It was like we shot mostly in the ranches, and we had Wi-Fi.
Yeah. If you didn't have that, I wouldn't have been there as much.
Yeah.
That's the big draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we call it our mobile office for a reason. Like, I have a desk in there. My assistant has a desk in there. It's not taking up a ton of workspace or storage space. Because when you're on location, like, you don't want to be, I don't want to be in my office the entire time if we're on location for 3 weeks. I want to be in the truck, going in and out. Like, that's my office.
Yeah. You want to be able to periodically drop into set, but also be there if anything were to come up that they really need, like, you to jump in on or have a boss say, I guess.
Yeah.
Being available both to your crew and to production should things come up.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
A job I did right before the strike, I don't even know why I had an office at Fox. It was a very busy show, but I was in the trailer. I was out shopping. Like, I barely touched that office.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. So let's you got your trailer rental, you got your team. What is that the end of the negotiation usually?
Then you just do the little bits, the
Oh yeah.
car rental,
Yeah, you're paying for gas and car allowance.
Yeah, what's all that dumb stuff about? Am I stealing the gas from the company? What's going on? And then you read the script.
Yeah, we made it.
Yay! I don't know if it was because I never was told you should get a script before you take a job, or if that was like the standard, or what the deal was, or I was just so hungry to get jobs and get things under my belt that I just didn't care. But I'd never read a script before.
I don't think I did with TV too. Granted on Ryan Murphy stuff, you don't really get a script till you're half done the last episode, the next one. So there's that,
or a schedule,
yeah. But with TV, not much of that for me either. But so when you get the script or whatever, have you gotten budgets for these? Like, are you told this is the budget that you have for this, or do you usually wait till after you read the script and submit a budget?
Okay, I missed a step before the script. Before the script, missed a step. In the talking of the negotiating and all that, then it comes into how much do they have budgeted episodically? How much is the amort?
Right.
And then you read the script and go, well, this is crazy. This isn't going to work. Yeah. Or you're like, I can make it work.
Right. We've never talked. I've always wanted to talk about this. What is an amortized budget? What is an amort? Because this is the one thing I'd slam my head on. I was like, I don't know what this is. And I'm calling like up a problem. And they're like, oh, the amort. It was like, what is that?
The amortized budget. It's for anything not allotted in the episodes that you are going to be using throughout the whole show. And so you buy the actors' watches, you buy not all expensive things, but all the big character stuff that are just used throughout the show. You take the amort money and use that for that, so that when you go to your episodic budget, you're not blowing your budget on, oh, that phone case has cost me $10,000 or whatever. You're taking it out of your amort.
It's a big phone case.
Yeah.
I don't know. I looked at my phone case. I went straight for that.
That diamond-studded phone case.
If anybody can't see it, it's impressive. Yeah.
It's impressive. I did a TV show once where I was told my amort, and I was like, wow, okay, I guess it is a manufacturing show. I guess it's a big, that's a big amort. Cool. I was like reading the first 5 scripts, and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to blow through a lot of this. And then the production designer comes to my office and he goes, so, that big old medical room with the MRI machine that's futuristic? I'm like, yeah. He goes, so they put that in your budget.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
So I need some of that amort back.
Well,
It took my entire
Yeah.
amort for the entire show.
Oh no! So you're clinching pennies the rest of the episode.
The rest of the episodes, all the manufactured items, I was just like having a heart attack the entire time, going, "Oh my god, I hope this fits. I hope this fits in the budget. I hope this fits," because $280, $1,000 of mine went straight into a set.
hey,
Yeah.
how many times did you see that MRI machine? Every episode, every scene?
Oh no, I think we saw maybe 6 episodes, maybe like 5 scenes an episode.
You put some miles on it, yeah.
There was miles on it, but it couldn't be picked up by an actor.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That totally. So do you put stuff like chair backs and stuff
Yeah,
like
chair backs, car cards, anything
bins?
that's used.
Yeah.
Sure, bins, yeah.
Yeah. It's just whatever.
Yeah, anything that I know we're gonna use the entire season is taken out of that, and so that you have your episodic budgeted money left over, so you're not just like, oh, why do I have this much left? The
Yeah.
episode's not done yet. You use it for that.
Yeah, I've typically been told to with TV shows they're like yeah, you got $20,000 per episode. We have for you. That's the we have for you $20,000 per episode, and then you're given that number. So let's go to the breakdown now, because that obviously differs when you start breaking down, right? You still budget out the episodes.
Yep. So then once you budget the episode, if you feel like their episodic amount is correct or not, then if you need more money, you go, hey, I don't feel like this budget episodically is going to work for this amount of episodes or whatnot. And they go, well, can you take it out of your amort? And then you have to explain to them, well, we still are, we haven't even shot the pilot yet, and you're asking me to take money out of my amort for stuff that I'm not ready to yet. And I don't know what's down the road. We're not even shot the pilot yet. You're asking me to take money out for 5
Right.
episodes. Like, they do a lot extra money episodically usually, and you just got to squeeze it out of them.
Yeah, I've had the conversation like, oh, this episode's gonna cost like $10,000 above the your set budget for this, or they're like, well, can you come under, like how low can you get? I was like, okay, with the script, can we cut this part out, and can we cut this part out? Because if we could cut those out, yeah, I can come perfectly in. Like these small little parts, we see it one time. We cut this out, we're good, because that's gonna disappear. It's a whole build. And they're like, no, well, can you ask the? It's like, I can't ask the director. You can though. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, approved.
Or it's like, why are we spending so much on cop belts? It's like, well, you have a precinct that has cops in it. Well, why do we need so many? It's like, well, you have this many background.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, why do you always get 2 extra? I'm like, why do you guys always emergency in 2 more extras?
Yeah. Have you done like military scene, like full like?
I haven't as a prop master.
As a prop master, the first time I did a couple scenes with like full blown military, like night vision goggles, like full decked out, and I didn't realize it until after, because what cop belts, they're about, for a rental for like a cop setup, it's like around $150 a week. That's like pretty basic and stuff like that. So I was like, I used that mentality. I was like, okay, it's probably gonna be a little bit more though.
Yeah,
it's probably
like
gonna
the
be
gun
a little
is
bit
like
more.
150.
I know, yeah, but I didn't even think about that. So like I like pulled all this stuff, like did all this. I was like, okay, I'm gonna need like, let's say 20 setups, and it goes through like, and they're like, okay, oh, just love the salespeople at ISS. Yeah. So no, it's like, okay, when you see a sales tag that's like $40,000, like, oh, so like just for this setup alone, and be like, it's like, whoa, what? It's like, oh yeah, like a military setup's like $700 rental a week, and I mean, when you realize it too, it's like, oh yeah, actual military setup, when you purchase it, it's like $40,000 almost. Like, it's super.
Well, they're really high tech. Yeah, I mean,
they're super high tech.
Yeah.
So it goes in, and it's like, yeah, okay, you want to cut down the budget? Okay, let's cut out half the background of military and make it night vision. Yeah. We could save you some money here. Yeah. So there's definitely ways.
So after you read the script, and depending on what kind of show it is, that's when you get into the money part of like, if it is a cop show, if it is a military show, if it's a show that has food in it every single day, like that stuff adds into your budget. And if you don't feel like they've given you enough, that's when you talk to them and tell them, hey, this isn't going to work, or you make it work because they're like, that's all you have.
Yeah. So how do you break down an episode? Like, how do you build your budget and build your script? What's your process? Do you do a cold read first, or do you?
I do a cold read first, and then I read it again and write it down in a moleskin notebook.
Oh, really?
Like a weirdo.
Like all the props specifically
Yeah,
listed,
I
handwritten?
do. Scene by scene, basically.
You look embarrassed by it. I don't think. Yeah. I think it's like just a step that gets it into your brain. That's why it's like. I've been told by people, it's like, oh, why don't you use what's that app that everybody uses? Sync or sync on Scriptation or sync on set or stuff like that. I was like, I can't do that because then it has a program that's doing it for me and it's not embedding into my brain.
Yes, exactly. Like I have like boxes that I'll like half it so that I know it's in process, and then once it's done, I'll cross it all out. And I have to have that.
Yeah.
I have to have that. Even though I haven't had a paper script in probably 5 years.
Yeah.
I have to have my notebook.
Yeah.
When you do that cold read through, is it easy for you to switch off the prop master brain and just read it as a reader?
Yeah. I just want to get through it basically because I know that I'm going to go through it again with my notebook, and then I'm going to go through it again with my breakdown app that I use on my computer, and that's like the final is once I've taken the script, taken my computer, taken notes, literally in notes on Apple. Nothing fancy. Google Drive blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I'll do the notes and I'll break down. I'll do each scene. I'll do where the scene is. I'll do the characters that are in the scene, what they need, what is needed that's been talked about in dialogue, what is possibly needed for each scene, and I'll break it down that way. And then I'll do numbers again, budgetarily. And I won't go scene by scene. I will just literally look at my notes and take out each prop that I know is going to cost money and put it into rentals, put it into purchasing, put it into food, put it into expendables, put it into graphics.
With this being like a how-to thing, like, I mean, a script for the audience here, like, it's not a shopping list for the prop master. Like, when you're making this breakdown, it isn't just specifically, it says he pulls out a gun. Like, how are you deriving what other things are not on the page that you know you're going to need?
I mean, you're going, where's he pulling the gun out of? What kind of gun is it? Like, is it rubber? Is it a toy? Is there more into the script? Is he going, like, is it actually like a script about somebody killing somebody? Then you go to start thinking in your head, like, are we going to shoot this thing? Do I have to start thinking about safety? How many rounds am I going to need?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is where the base where I said, like, when you first go where the pieces are everywhere, it's like starting to put the pieces together is making that list first, but then it breaks into categorize to question. It's like, okay, here's, like, that's how I do it is very similar what you were saying, but then it lines from a different page in that moleskin notebook for, okay, costumes. Here's all the questions I need to talk to with costumes. Okay, set deck. Here's all the questions I need to talk to with set deck. Director. Next 5 pages. Here's all the scenes.
Are you a moleskin guy too?
No, I'm one. I do like a lot of these. I actually legal pads. I have like a pad folio, and it's just the legal pads in there, and it's the next page on those that I can rip out when they've been completely crossed off.
I would instantly lose that. Like, I'm Google spreadsheet, cradle to the grave on every show. Like, if I wrote it down, that would vanish.
No, well, I do an Excel breakdown, and there's there's checks, like in my budget, like where I put the number, it's each graphics, yada yada yada, like manufacturing stuff like that. But then on the side, I have a note things where I'll just put in bold letters, set deck ? Costumes ? Stuff that's crossover-ish that I need to have. Director, like I tally it with that, and that's all there in the Google Drive. But then I will, after that, I'll go through that entire, like, that's my Bible list right there, and I always go back to. So I go down that, and then I make all my notes for the stuff just for director, so I can get in my director meeting and I can just rattle them off as opposed to just having a legit just page turn after page turn and going through. Depending on what TV, it's a little bit easier because you're not going through like a movie. It'd be a 6-hour meeting if you're doing a full page turn. You know what I mean?
No, don't get me wrong. The moleskin, if I open it during an episode or not, is a different story. But I start off writing into it.
It's your process to help you ingest the material. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like writing something down and like there or whatever, it's easier because you cross it off. And that's why I like the legal pads, because when everything on a page is crossed off, I know I'm always going to keep going back to it till everything's crossed off. And I know I covered it and I can rip out that.
You're done.
The answers are all... Yeah.
Oh, see, I keep mine and they have little tabs for episodes.
They have tabs for episodes. Mine graduates to a... when it's all answered or whatever, I do like my daily breakdowns. And that's probably jumping a little bit. So my daily breakdowns is just in Word. That's like the finalized version. Everything that's been talked about and approved and discussed, that'll all make it there. And that's everything that needs to be there on the day. And that turns into the onset Bible. So that's it goes through a lot of steps with me. Yeah. But that's it. It's like I need to see those props that pass through those 8 times process to be able to know okay, they've been approved, they've been seeing, I know it's going to be on set in that day, and there's not going to be any question about it getting there.
Yeah. See, I stop at the episodic breakdown. I don't go to, the schedule breakdown or, the daily breakdown.
You don't do a daily breakdown?
I don't.
Yeah. And most prop and most especially that I came up with don't. They don't too. And a lot of people, even with, I like to give my truck person a daily breakdown, so it was just okay, I make sure they do read the script, but realistically, if they are sick and everybody's sick and I do need to have somebody to come in, it's something that's okay, if you hit every single thing that's on this scene in this day, we're good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So how do you handle that, or how do you make sure that those props are getting to set that day?
So it will start with me, obviously, and then it will get to my shopper, and I'll have the breakdown. So as her and I are prepping the next episode, because I explain this every show, and my assistants roll their eyes every time. I'm always an episode ahead of the filming crew.
Yeah.
My assistant in my office, she is always a week ahead of them. And then my truck person is always 3 days ahead.
3 days ahead.
3 days ahead. And then the guys, they're in it. The onsets, I don't want them to worry about has something been prepped. I don't want them to worry about has something been wrapped, because normally they're so deep in it that they've barely sat down.
Right.
So I'll start getting the props and figuring out what I'm going to do, and then it'll get to Krista, and then Krista will do her thing. And whether I get them to the truck or she gets them to the truck or Cam comes and gets them, then Cam gets them from the truck, and then we all 3 go over the next couple of days. And Cam will do her breakdown. I always make the joke that they never look at my breakdown, so they don't know what's going on. So I add little funny things into it sometimes, and they still don't know what's going on because they don't look at it. I'm kidding.
She knows, guys.
And what your breakdown? Your breakdown is of the whole episode.
It's the entire episode.
Okay, so that's it,
start to finish. That's the breakdown from scene 1 to scene 50.
Yeah, and so your truck person and the onset person make their own kind of daily breakdown.
The onsets definitely do their daily breakdown,
right,
to make sure that they have it. And it's the whole writing it down thing. They have to write it down to see it, to know, because my breakdown is literally right in front of their face, and they still do their own breakdown, and then they'll look at mine and then see what is missed or what is not missed or what they think should be added.
I think that's how, a good onset, for people who just want to run sets, that's a good rule of thumb. It's do your own first, so it's embedded, like we just said, embedded in your brain.
Yeah.
You know,
you can't just look at the front of the call sheet and go, oh, look, this is what the ADs put as props, because sometimes you get the ADs that forget to take the things off, or they write things because they think it's funny. I had an AD once if you look at my resume, there's a lot of love and sex on it, and she would put literally erotic in front of every single prop. And she thought it was funny. So my guys stopped looking at it, which I would too. But they do their own breakdown. They'll go through the sides or their script that day, and they'll do their own little breakdown, then cross with mine. And if something's missing, we'll talk about it.
I don't ever look at that part in the
I
call
don't either.
sheet. Yeah, there was one. I think one show I did have a second AD, and it said, "Do you have a breakdown that I can pull from yours to put the props in?" And I think I told them, "Yeah, but it would take up 90% of the call sheet,
Yeah.
and so I don't
Yeah.
want to give that to you because it's going to look
Yeah,
ridiculous."
yeah. Oh, hey guys, look! All we have is a cell phone working today. We should go home.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what the ADs think. That's all we do is one cell phone for
Yeah.
the day. Like
Yeah.
the most I look on their breakdowns for the continuity or whatever on the show for that background is if they decide to start listing background as like, oh, there's a homeless person, or oh, we're gonna have these kids walk down the street and they should have 40s in their hands. And sometimes it's talked about in meetings and sometimes it's not talked about what the extras should have, because you have to deal with the props with the actors, but then you have whatever that extras are going to have, and it's whether you get an AD that decides they want to paint their own muse or show that's happening over here, and you're like, but the show's over here. They're like, but this homeless guy is talking to this person, and they should give each other cash. And you're like, so you're writing something in your head, cool, but you need these props. Okay, great. Where's your list?
Yeah.
And you have to see their list, because sometimes they don't want to talk about it, and
Right.
sometimes they don't have time to talk about it,
Right.
and if you don't pay attention to those things, you're on the day, you're like, wait a minute, you just added 2 more cops? What's happening?
Yeah. I feel like there's times where the second AD will kind of, when they're placing background, just make stuff up like that too and write their own show and
Yes.
get way into
Yes,
it and
yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, do you have like balloon animals that they're just like putting together on the street? I was like, what, do we have a clown now? And I was
Yeah.
like, no, but it'd be cool if I think this guy's background is like, this background is not balloon animal making in the side of a street corner.
Yeah.
They can live without
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We're on a college campus. They should have a hacky sack, and they should have
It's always a
football.
hacky
Always
sack.
a hacky sack.
A hacky sack and a frisbee, right?
Yeah, or a football. It's like, is that what these kids are doing? Have you guys been to a college campus lately? 'Cause
Are they
this
not
is-
hacky sacking much
They're
these
not
days?
hacky sacking. Like,
But you've got one on your truck.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
like 5.
Yeah. So in the sex lives of college girls, they're not hacky sacking.
Oh no, they're hacky sacking.
They are hacky sacking.
Yeah, because the second AD is writing his own little story over here in the corner. Like,
He's reliving the glory days. Yeah.
He's like, man, I
which
hacky
good for
sack.
them. I mean, to get background to do stuff, you gotta paint their own little picture.
No, yeah, I could not do that job.
No way, no way.
I do like to try to say it, like I think we experienced it on the last show, where like the second AD was doing a lot of that stuff, and I was like, I had to be like, hey, just like in the beginning of the day, come to me first before we place background. I'm going to show you everything we have. That way it makes it a little bit easier to do this, because we're doing a show that takes place in 1560 for this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
Let me
So
empower you. You want to paint a picture? Here's your palette.
yeah, exactly. So when you have this, you're doing the episodes and stuff like that, and you're setting up your crew. So we're let's say we're getting into the first episode. How do you set your crew so you can go into the meetings that are starting with episode 2 and so on?
I mean, thankfully you have the pilot, so you're only dealing with one director at one point. But
Yeah, that's another part we haven't even mentioned yet.
Yeah,
With
I mean,
TV.
okay, so how about we start there? So you do a pilot series, and you're starting the pilot. Usually you have more than a normal prep. You have 8 or 6 weeks or whatever, which in movies is not a lot, but in TV that's a pretty good amount.
Yeah, definitely.
And depending on what it is, you get into it, you start reading the scripts, meet the director, get the vibe of the show. You go to the production designer, see their vibe of the show, see their lookbook on the show, talk to costumes, see how they feel about the lookbook, make sure that the showrunner is good with all that and loves all that, and you start running with the same thing. That basically just your end of the props just finalize the look of the show, I feel like.
Right.
Because the production designer is doing the bigger scope of it. The building, the rooms, the set decks doing the dressing, the costumes are getting put in, and then you're just adding that extra little pop of things that are put in people's hands.
Right.
So then you do your kind of lookbook on actors and their props, depending on whether it's a modern TV show about college students, or you're doing backpacks and phones, or it's a manufactured weird show that I don't even know what time it was set in, and you're making phones and you're making weird medical stuff, and you're finding out from special effects if they're helping with a dolphin and like you know,
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. And then you're doing your own little lookbook to kind of, I feel like we're like kind of the tailgate of the show.
This is like super subjective, but approaching that lookbook again, because this is instructional, like how do you narrow down what you want to present? Like how do you convey this attitude that is synonymous with the vibes of the other departments that you mentioned?
Because I do a lot of half-hour comedies, I do my lookbooks with, so the Sex Lives of College Girls. My lookbook will be a new actor on the show, and their vibe, and I'll have a lookbook of probably a couple different cell phone choices, a couple backpack choices, so that I can just start getting the feel of it, because I feel like show and tells where you're doing it in person in TV is going away.
Yeah.
Very fast. Very, very fast. And everything is on paper, photos. Let's just look at something, pick this, and then move on.
Well, so what were you saying with prep or whatever? Do you usually get your show and tell for that first episode, and then after that it just kind of floats away?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It's like that was, I think my first 2 episodes of the last show I did, I was able to have a show and tell, and then after that, like, it was like the minute I met the director, like, I just made a lookbook with a few options on each thing. It's like, okay, this is what I'm thinking for this character. Okay, cool. Yeah, that looks good. And we just literally rattled through.
And then the next directors come in and they're just like, what? I mean, unfortunately with TV, it's kind of cookie cutter where it's less director,
showrunner, right?
Yeah, it's more showrunner. So you're looking more at that showrunner for answers and looks and choices and stuff like that. Yeah. So once you've hooked the showrunner in the first 2 episodes, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, because they'll give the director some leeway, but it's like, okay, you could choose between this, but this is the vibe of the show. So it's one of these.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've gone into conversations where there's directors that are kind of phoning it in, but also knowing that the showrunner is going to make the final decision.
Yeah.
And, I mean, as they should and as they shouldn't, because it's their show.
Yeah.
And they want what they want.
Right.
And I think you narrow it down to if there's a special prop that's not seen in any episodes, obviously you show the directors, the new directors, those type of things, but I get a couple directors that I've worked with numerous times, and I'm just like, hey, do you want to? Nope. Do you want to talk about the thing? Nope. I trust you. I'm like, okay, cool. That's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I do show them anyways, but it's terrifying and nice, but
well, it turns into a thing where, and we've talked about this on this podcast a couple times, to where you just got to kind of show up on the day and hope one of them is just okay and it works.
Yeah. Or you get showrunners. I love my showrunner, and I will literally text him and I'll say, what do you want for this?
The texting relationship is so awesome when you can do that.
It is so great.
Yeah.
I don't have words right now. I will literally be like, what are you expecting out of this? And he'll send me like a clip from YouTube or like a TikTok, because it's the Sex Lives of College Girls, guys. And it'll be exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
And you just get it.
Yeah. I think I usually hope that that's the answer, but every time I meet like a new director on a movie or a showrunner, like it's like, so what's your preferred? Like, do you like to text every once in a while, or do you like a phone call, or you prefer email? I was like, please say text. Like I'll email important things and stuff like that need more thought and like concepts and shit. But
when you're first starting a show out, like they're so bogged down with so many emails from so many departments, because you're not the only department.
It'll get kicked down the road.
Oh yeah, and you're just like, hey, did you get that email? Or you bump their assistant when you're just getting to know them and you don't have their phone numbers and stuff like that. You bump their assistant, and their assistant, you have to wait for the assistant to be like, oh no, is it time?
Yeah.
This is my first job with this person. It's like, mine too, get an answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. So when you get in, I mean, you get through those. How about after that then? What do
So
we
you
got
get
after
through the
crew?
lookbook, you get through the crew set, the lookbook set, you're starting the show, you've read the script, and
You're getting answers, basically.
You're getting
now.
answers.
You're getting stuff approvals.
You're getting answers. You're getting
approvals.
like, but then, depending on the half-hour comedy or whatever it is, then you're starting to get revisions in scripts, and especially pilots,
Yeah.
because the network sees it. The network starts paying attention to the meetings and the lookbooks and everybody's thoughts, and things start changing, and you're like, oh, okay, so this character's now not this person. They've totally like changed it. Now it's a dude. Okay, cool. So now we pivot and start working on this new character. And then you do that, you get all the props and get them all approved to hopefully start filming soon. You get your chair backs because, guys, that's the most important thing for people to sit in a chair with their name on it. And you get
Don't forget those car cards, too.
Don't forget the car cards. You get like a week out from filming, and then they start to do camera tests to make sure they like the looks of actors and their clothes and in the sets. And then somebody hates it, and you shut down for a week, or everybody loves it, and you keep on going.
Yeah.
And then a week later, they decide they don't like that actor, and then you pivot and you get a new actor. That's the thing about having a pilot season anymore. Is there's no troubleshooting.
Yeah.
You just do the pilot, hope it all works. If it doesn't work, you stop. You prep more, and then they fix what they don't like, and then you go back and start to shoot the series.
Yeah. So let's move on to the series then. How do we run it when we get the series? Because that's the point where you got to have a lot of trust in your crew and your team.
Yep.
Because on a TV show, a prop master doesn't get to be around a lot, right?
Right. So you're doing the pilot. Hopefully the pilot's more than 17 days on a half-hour comedy. And you get through the pilot, and about, a couple days into it, you're hoping you have all the things. With however many changes has happened, I tried to get every single prop as fast as I can in front of them, because the other thing about episodic is you're shooting episode 1, 2, 3 through 10, but a lot of the times you're block shooting them,
right?
Because you don't have an actor. So then you start to have to focus on, hey, we only have this actor for this many episodes, so we're gonna put all of their stuff in after the pilot.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You have a perfect shoot and it goes amazing, and you have all the props, and you start prepping with the second director. And once you get that second director, you start to cool off, because you're just like, okay, we're starting to get in the groove.
Yeah, we're on the moving train. Yeah.
They have what they need. I'm starting to go into episode 2. So now Krista is a week ahead of them, still on episode 1. Cam's 3 days ahead of Otto and Mike, and they're rolling.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's no speed bumps.
Yeah.
There's the speed bump shows, and then there's the non-speed speed bump shows. And the speed bump shows gave me lots of gray hairs.
So, how often do you typically always get the entire series scripts right in the beginning?
I have once.
You have once.
Once.
So you don't get the whole entire
You do not.
thing.
No, especially half-hour comedies. They'll give you their episode breakdowns of where they want them going, but you usually only get to 5.
Right.
The outline, that's what it's called. You usually only get outlines for 5 episodes.
Right. So then that could be difficult too, then, because as a prop master too, there a lot of times where they're originally going to be going is so the showrunner, they're going to adjust it based off the chemistry on a new show anyway, of how the actors are interacting with each other, right?
Yeah. And then this is where the Amor budget comes in to factor, because you may know what's going on for the first 5 episodes, but then all of a sudden they might get rid of 2 characters and you have 2 more characters. And you're like, okay, well, I'm glad I didn't blow that whole budget.
Yeah.
Now I can prop these guys up.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So when you're on the moving train then, and we're actually going, and what does that look like as far as the meetings for the next ones goes? Are you meeting with every department again?
Oh yeah, you're still having all those same meetings.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on if you're on location and you have a heavy prop day or a heavy day in general on the show, you sometimes are in Zoom, sometimes you have to have them push it, sometimes you're in your car driving on the 405 stuck on the freeway trying to talk to these directors because this was their only day they could talk to you, and you're just hoping somebody's recording it.
Yeah. Yeah, does half-hour comedies typically have the rotating ADs and
Yeah, there's the even and odds.
yeah, even and odds. And the showrunner is on set most of the time, right?
Depending on the show. I mean, usually the first season they're around a lot.
Yeah.
And once they start to put trust in their people and their writers, they start like taking the reins and starting to move on and let them take the reins. Which is obviously, I feel like that's how I work. Because once we start going and I feel comfortable, my people feel comfortable, and we feel like we have a good groove, the onsets feel like they're delivering what they need to deliver to the directors, and there's not any speed bumps or any rando stuff, and I can let them just go at it, and then I know that I can move on to the next episode and deal with the next director.
Yeah. So it becomes pretty much a nice moving train at that point and
Yeah.
going. But then a heavy food scene comes up.
But then a heavy food scene comes in, and then you're just like, shit, we need more people.
Yeah. So is that in half-hour comedies? Do they try to fight you ever with like food stylists and stuff like that, or?
No, I mean, food is so like touchy because they don't want anybody to get sick. They don't want anybody to not have enough food. The food's not warm. The actor can't eat anything because they're vegan or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they're usually pretty lenient on the food part of it. It's when you're just like, no, I need an extra person to wash dishes. And they're like, well, why? Can't you just wait till the end of the night? And it's like, well, do you want me to be on the clock for 3 more hours? Like, how do you want this to work? So you need the extra person to help move everything along when you're like, get rid of this tray, make a new tray. Somebody has to be there to clean up that tray, make a new tray. Like, you have to have the extra people to do that. And sometimes it's hard to explain to them, besides the food people, that you also need prop people to do prop jobs too.
Yeah.
Right.
With the big one, we've done a whole like restaurant scene or whatever, and not think about that. I remember, man, even like assistant coming up, spending 2 hours, and they're like, why are you still here? It's like, we just did 100-person background restaurant scene.
Right.
It's like, you know how many dishes there are? And it's an open kitchen. Like, like, not only we have to do all the dishes here, we have to like clean all the cookware. It's insane.
You can just throw it away and go home.
Yeah.
Throw it away and go home. Yeah.
Well, like, food scenes when you're at an actual restaurant or a location is so much easier because the decorators rented the stuff from a company that
they're like, throw it all in.
just throw it all in. We don't care. Or you get a TV series that's based in a Chinese food restaurant on a dirty stage at Fox, and you're just like, we need a sink from Rick's Enterprise. We're going to be washing dishes a lot, guys.
Yeah.
And you hire the people to do the dishes.
Yeah.
Because you can't put dirty dishes on set. It's, first of all, not sanitary. Second of all, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a little crazy. So you get through the show. Now we're approaching wrap.
Well, I want to ask.
Oh,
'cause
we're not done?
You talk about like
Yeah.
there's not speed bump shows and speed bump shows. Like, we expect food scenes. We expect like all of the ritual of going through your even and odd episodes and prepping ahead and everything like that. Like, what are some speed bumps that are common or even outrageous maybe that you've experienced that you'd want to share?
I mean, definitely schedule switching the next day is pretty bananas. Like, I mean, I did Ryan Murphy shows, and I swore I'd never prop master a Ryan Murphy show because they're so unscheduled and all over the place. But then there's the shows that you have the scripts and you have the schedule, but yet the night before they're like, hey, we're changing everything. And you're like, why? So now I have to go figure out. I mean, I try to prep the entire episode as much as I can, but you're not renting cameras or expensive equipment for the entire episode because that's blowing your whole budget out because you can't have things for 2 weeks. If it's an hour drama, you're shooting an episode for, I don't know, 9 days or whatever. And you can't just rent that stuff for that long. You can't rent cop equipment. If you have one episode with cops in it, you can't rent it for 2 weeks. That takes your entire budget. Right. So you have to schedule these pickups and drop-offs like according to the script. And then when they're all of a sudden like, well, we're changing, and now we're gonna go work. We're gonna go film in the precinct, and we're bringing it up like 3 weeks before it was supposed to be shot, and you're like, well, now I need to go get 25 cop setups.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
And hope they all look good.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this usually you're cutting my research off.
Right. And it was during the strike. Like it wasn't like send the Teamster. Like there was thankfully I have family at ISS, and thankfully there was a lot of help that way. But like there's those kind of speed bumps, and also the first scene of the day we were gonna shoot in the Chinese food restaurant. Like those are the speed bump shows.
Yeah. Befriend your salespeople, no matter whether it be ISS or anywhere. They will save your. They'll run shit to set a lot of times
Any
if you
vendor,
need it.
your vendors, the transpo, and locations. Those are your friends, guys.
Yes, like give them a wrap. Like that was one thing. It was like give your vendors wrap gifts when you wrap. Like if they've saved you and helped you out so much, like show them the appreciation. Do that stuff. Like they can save you in the props department.
Oh, for sure.
Saved me so many times. Like it's. I think it's a huge thing. So, So
speaking of wrap gifts, I think that's where you were headed before the speed bumps.
Oh, the wrap? No. So we're heading towards wrap. How do you handle that?
We're getting towards the last episode. Now, if this is a pilot to series, normally this is the time where they decide they want to do reshoots of the pilot.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I've never experienced this. Yeah, go on.
This is happened to me numerous times, and they decide that they don't like something in the pilot because all of a sudden, usually the studio is caught up at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And the studio wants us to change something, so you reshoot something in the pilot because they don't want to disrupt the episodes. And maybe actors have out times, or what do you call it when actors need to be done?
Out, like
the turnaround?
No,
issue,
like say an actor.
A hard out?
Yeah, like an actor has a hard out because they have to go do another show or something.
Oh, right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to disturb that normally or whatever. So sometimes you do reshoots of the pilot, so you got to all remember what you did.
Yeah, what you did 4 months ago.
Yeah, 4 months ago, whatever month, 9 episodes and no sleep later. And you're like, where did that thing go? I swear we wrapped it. Like, I swear we put it in the episode 1 box. Where is it? Okay, well, I'll go print some more. Who cares? We got to rip it the certain way. And then cut 2 months later, you find it in your set cart under something. Anyways. But you just have to collect all the things back to do reshoots and match as much as possible. But you start to get to wrap. You get to the final, episode 10, and my job gets way easier. My assistant Chris's job gets way easier, and Cam starts to think about wrap.
Yeah.
And because we want to make sure we've gotten anything I don't want on the trailer that belongs to the show in, labeled, boxed up, photoed, and put away properly.
Yeah. We were actually talking about this before you walked in briefly with Jackie, because we're wrapping a show right now, and you were saying that you hate wrap. You hate doing a lot of this stuff, right?
It's just we're done playing with the toys, and now it's time to clean up. It's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yep. A couple of my assistants feel the same way.
Yeah. And that's where I'm not a huge fan either. But Jackie, she's been my shopper on a handful of shows. Like, she loves rap. She loves the organization of rap, and I that's why I love doing shows with her, because she makes the Google spreadsheet Excel in the old boxes. She loves photographing and taping up all the bins and putting them in their lot numbers, and then she likes to make a full pretty binder of it with a flash drive with all the stuff to hand in production to do the thing. So it's any show that she's been on with me, if the next season of their Prop Master gets it, they're gonna love that she was on. Because it's not like everything was just thrown in a box. I actually even negotiating recently on this one, they're like, oh, you only have this with wrap time. I was like, well, that's fine, but things are just going to get thrown into a box and thrown into your storage. And they're like, oh, well, what would it be if we didn't? I was like, 3 extra days. And they're like, Okay, yeah. Let's
Yeah,
just give
yeah.
you that.
You'll
Yeah.
thank us when the reshoots come around.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So we're getting towards wrap. They've already started shooting the last episode. I'm bored out of my mind at this point because I have nobody to talk to, director-wise.
They call it what prop master syndrome. That
Yeah.
last week of
Yeah.
shooting, where your prop crew gets so they're like, "Go away!"
Yeah, they're like,
Go-
what are you doing here?
Go clean out a bin or something.
All of a sudden, all the ADs are like, oh, Sarah's here. She's bored. I'm like, yeah. So you start wrapping the episodes that you've already shot. And you're doing this as they're shooting because, I mean, why not? If we're bored, we're bored. It's happening. And then you get the panic call of, hey, they just asked for, and you're like, son of a bitch. We just wrapped that. It's in a box. We have to cut the box open. Now it's not going to look pretty anymore.
Yeah.
The bubble wrap's going to be messed up.
To be triple
sometimes,
taped.
Yeah, sometimes this doesn't happen. I mean, sometimes we wait till the end. It all depends on the show. But then you start wrapping and you finally finish shooting and it's camera wrap and everybody's exhausted and happy and everybody takes their stupid chair backs home.
Yeah.
And then you start buttoning everything up. You start taking everything from the show and organizing it and trying to put the truck back together, whether you had to take things out because it's a period show or you left it all there because it's a modern day comedy.
Yeah.
You start putting the pieces of your life and your rolling office back together.
Yeah, it's us. The period show. We just finished putting it, modernizing the trailer.
Yeah.
You think you got it all until one of those shows comes along.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all got to go.
Yeah.
Then it's all going to be thrown out.
You never knew how much stuff was thrown out in the 90s until you went on eBay.
Oh, yeah. Who was just talking about that? Oh, James Eddy, I think we were talking about that. He's like, yeah, the hardest show to do is an 80s show because it was the first time with a throw-out era where you can't find anything anymore. Yeah. People didn't keep anything. So
one of my shows that I didn't read the script until I got there because I didn't ask for it. Well, actually, this wasn't just on me. As we are in our first meeting during the pilot, we learned during the meeting, and also the production designer and the line producer, everybody learned that the show was based in the 90s. It wasn't really specified in anywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody really talked about it.
Yeah.
The book it was based off of really, it could have gone anywhere. And in our first production meeting...
So everybody just thought it was modern day?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a production meeting, but it was like the first intro meeting and the showrunners talking about the show and then started like, oh, so then when the Star Tech phone comes out, I'm like, what?
That's oddly specific.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very specific, but the production designer and I are like looking at each other and she goes, what era is this? And he goes, oh, the 90s. What portion of the 90s? Well, actually, we're going to bounce from late 80s to late 90s. And we're all like, oh. I didn't have that in the phone call of the hiring of the job.
Yeah.
Or the interview of the job. Or I didn't even get that vibe in the book.
Right. I just thought I was super lucky to not have to deal with cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the production designer was like, oh. Cool. And nobody kept anything from that era.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's the disposable era. That's where all the disposable stuff
Yeah.
started coming out.
Any shows I've done from that era, you mentioned cell phones, but like they were around, and it's like if you hop on eBay or something, it's like, oh, cool. Oh, it's in Lithuania. You know, it's like everybody threw them away here. You can get them, but it's
You want working ones. Luckily, I mean, they're
Yeah. It's craziness.
Yeah. So luckily, I think what you hope, every prop master hopes for during wrap is that they don't have to do it because they have the next show and they're prepping and they can just leave.
The assistant does it. Yeah.
They can just leave their crew to do it and they can start prepping the next one to skate into. That's the big hope.
That's the ideal. Yeah.
That's the ideal situation.
Yeah. Well, that's the joke with my assistants is I was lucky enough for a while to just go from show to show.
Yeah.
And the strike and the slowness, it's like, oh, Sarah's on set because she doesn't have a job.
I know. Yeah, it's like, oh, you hope the new thing. My crew's been setting up for it too. We just had one of my main guys who actually he just worked on a flipping job that he hates prop master. He wasn't gonna do it, but he just prop mastered like a flipping job just so he can get his days to bump his card, just in the hopes that I could start jumping to shows to prep and he can jump up to prop master to wrap without bringing somebody to bring it home.
Yeah. A couple of my assistants have cards for that reason.
Yes, exactly. It's a big thing. And then the next job starts, huh?
And then the next job starts. And you
Yeah.
hope it's not a speed bump.
And you hope it's not a speed bump. That was great. I like doing topical episodes like this. I think this is awesome.
Yeah, good change of pace.
A huge change of pace, and I think you were the perfect person for
Hopefully.
it. Do you think we covered all the bases?
I don't know.
Did we hit everything?
My head's a mess right now.
Yeah. How do you do? Do you do day bins or do you do set bins?
Ooh, that's actually a good one.
That's a good question, right?
We do day bins.
Yeah.
There's not a bin that stays on set all the time, except for the character, like
The
hero
character
ones,
stuff.
the
Yeah,
hero
yeah,
ones
yeah,
that
the
you have
hero.
in the cart. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we definitely do a day bin, and it's definitely a switch out.
Yeah. On TV shows, we do day bins. On movies, we do set bins.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's how I was
Interesting.
saying. Because on movies, pretty much, you're going to shoot out the locations all at the same time. On
True.
TV shows, you don't usually
Yeah.
do that. It always switches up, so it's all different. So, I don't know. That's
Interesting.
had to hit that one in. Yeah. How do you organize your bins?
Yeah. Does the day bin have a cart with it, or does it not have a cart with it? Is there a table with that cart?
Oh, it's dependent on the last show. We had a lot of carts with the days.
A lot of cards, a lot of tables.
It all
a lot of
depends.
bins.
It depends on
Yeah.
what kind of show. Like,
I know.
you have a show where the character bins are always on a cart and always on set. You have a show where all you need is their little bags with their rings, watches,
Right.
phone cases, or not phone
I
cases.
just got one of those 9-banger carts, and it's becoming very useful for.
Oh,
And
yeah?
you have heavy backgrounds. I'm like almost excited to do like I'm not excited to do a cop show, but if I do a cop show, I was like I'm excited to have that 9-banger because it's like it'd be great to do a precinct where you have 9 drawers for everything police wise that
Yeah,
you're gonna
yeah,
need.
yeah.
One for files, one for
Yeah.
paperwork, so stuff like that.
It all depends on the show and how many. I mean, the set cart's obviously always the key cart to go to set, but
Oh, 100%.
the supporting carts are always a fun.
Yeah. Organizing your cards.
Yeah.
And we that's another topical episode we do have for another time, which is it's not cart specific, but I think that'll go into the episode, which is like building your trailer and building your kit and how you're gonna build it out, which I think is gonna be specific show wise also. I think there's a reason why we decided to do let's do TV for this one, because this can go in a million different directions.
Well, I mean, there's so many different. I hate to say this. I mean, we're not grips with certain packages. Like, the things we bring to the party for multiple jobs, whether commercial, TV, movies. I mean,
Yeah, on commercials, I can use. I'm happy. I have a converted cargo van. I'm happy to have that because when I do work commercials, I'm able to rent that to the commercials where we can just do that, and that's enough for that. I can fit 2 carts in there and enough bins to get through a commercial.
we're a multi-tool situation.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that's what all prop masters are, stuff like that. So, and I think we've hit our perfect timing.
Well done, everyone.
Well done,
Nailed it.
everybody. Thanks for joining us, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
This was awesome. I'm glad we got you in the studio, and Hunter as well for the first time.
I'm glad I happened to be in the parking lot of ISS today.
The PMG. He just got a new truck, and we've been dealing with a bee issue on it that we thought. But yeah. Shout out to Nicole Doobie, the beekeeper,
Thank you.
who came in to look at it. It was like, it was just a swarm hanging out for a couple days.
I'm sure every prop master goes through that with their trailer.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
pretty common. Is it not? Okay.
Just you so far.
You're the one.
You're the one in the room.
Yeah. Sarah, also, you run the Women's Property Masters Guild group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're a woman in the Property Masters Guild. There we go. I get jumbled mouth sometimes. You run meetings
Bi-monthly.
bi-monthly. There we go.
Yeah, and we have topics so that we can kind of keep on track, but then also check in with each other and be a little support group.
Yeah, and everybody who joins the PMG, who's a woman anyway, I throw you on the email list as you enter, so you should be getting emails and stuff forward too. So yeah, you should get a part of that. I don't know much about it, but you do. So join it. Anything you guys want to say? All right, cool. I'll bring it. I'll take us
Bring
out.
it home.
Then. Yeah. I do. I have been for the past couple episodes mentioning this, and I'll mention it one more time. I think it's important for all prop masters if you watch a movie or TV show where you appreciate the props and you really like it, reach out to that prop or a prop assist, armor, anybody who's listening. Reach out to that prop master and let them know that, like, we don't get a lot of credit for what we do from a lot of people. And I think it coming from your peers, especially, it's always going to be welcomed and important. So if you were impressed by props on a show, reach out to the prop master and let them know that. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, we usually hear about it when something's missing or something's wrong or wasn't quite meets the criteria. So good job is like the kind of feedback that's typically missing. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, I think so too. So I try to do that as much as possible. And most prop masters, not most, but a lot of prop masters are PMG members, and you can usually send them a message through propertymastersguild.org. So if you just jump in and look at the directory, there's a message box that pop up. If you write in there, it will go directly to them. So that's how to reach out and let them know they did a sweet job.
We'd all love to hear from you.
We all love to hear from you. Thanks to everybody for tuning into another episode of Prop Talk, the official podcast of the Property Masters Guild, brought to you by real working and retired prop masters. If this is your first time listening, make sure you like, subscribe, or comment wherever you're hearing or watching this. If you'd like to know more information on the Property Masters Guild or have any questions for us here at Prop Talk, or if you have an idea for if one of those people that you messaged that you really liked their work and you want to hear more from them about the project, let us know, and we'll put them on the agenda for people to have on in the future. Make sure you go to propertymastersguild.org. You can message us there at info@propertymastersguild.org. We'll receive that email too. We're also on Instagram @_the PMG and all other socials. Until next time.